gonna show you the chess game, my fellow chessers, between Hikaru Nakamura and Alireza Firouzja in FIDE Candidates 2024, round number 12. So let's begin on e4, e6. Ooh, French defense, my fellow chessers. So d4, d5, e takes d5, e takes d5, exchange variation of French defense, my fellow chessers. So let's continue on at f3, knight, bishop d6, c4, knight f6, c5, and then bishop e7, and then queen a4 check, my fellow chessers. So let's continue on bishop d7, and then queen c2, castles kingside, and then bishop e3, knight c6, knight c3, b6, bishop e2, knight b4 attacking the queen on c2, and then knight d2, then bishop f5, oh, preparing for knight c2. So rook c1, preventing the jumping of knight on c2. So knight g4, what's the idea of knight g4, my fellow chessers? The idea of knight g4 attacking the bishop on e3. So let's continue on bishop f4, b takes c5, and then d takes c5, bishop takes c5, and then castles kingside, good move. And then rook e8. As you can see, my fellow chessers, you can see black is one pawn up. So let's see, let's continue. So rook e8, and then a3, attacking the knight on b4, g4. Ooh, this is counter attack, my fellow chessers. This is counter attack. Correct my pronunciation if I'm wrong, my fellow chessers. You can comment. So let's continue on d3, rook takes c5. This is X, my fellow chessers. The best continuation on this position is bishop d1. Bishop d1. So let's continue on. Bishop takes rook takes c5, and then d takes e2, rook e1, knight d3. Oh, knight d3. Good move, my fellow chessers. Rook takes f5, rook takes e1. This is X, my fellow chessers. So the best continuation on this position is queen to d7, my fellow chessers. That is the best continuation on this position. So let's continue on. Knight takes e1, knight takes e1, queen takes d2, bishop takes d2, rook a d8, bishop c3, and then rook d1 attacking the knight on e1, f3. Oh, okay. F3 attacking the knight on g4. So knight e3 attacking the rook on f5, my fellow chessers. So knight takes c7, rook e7 attacking the knight. So rook c5, f6, bishop b4, king f7, h4, h5, king f2, rook b1, knight g5, good move, knight g1 check, and then king g3, and then rook e5, knight d3, rook e8, and then bishop e1, blunder of Hikaru Nakamura, my fellow chessers. So the best continuation on this position is rook c7 check, or rook a5 attacking the pawn on a7, or knight 5 f4. That is the best continuation on this position, my fellow chessers TV. Let's continue on bishop e1, blunder, rook takes b2, and then rook b5, rook d1, good move. So rook takes b2, rook takes d3, and then rook b7 check, king f8, good move, knight f4 attacking the rook on d3. So rook takes a3, and then king f2, a5, and then rook a7. As you can see, my fellow chessers, 2 rooks versus 1 rook, but the white pieces have knight and bishop. So let's continue on. Rook a4, g3, g5, Mistake of Alireza, my fellow chessers. The best continuation on this position is knight a3 or knight a1 or knight a3 or knight a2, my fellow chessers. So let's continue on g5. Mistake. So h takes g5, h takes g5, f takes g5, and then knight takes h5, and then rook e5, g4, and then king e8, knight g7 check, king f8, knight f5. Ooh, maneuver. So rook a2, rook a8 check, and then king f7, and then knight g6, knight e6, knight c4, rook b5, rook takes a5, rook b takes a5, and then knight takes a5, bishop, king d5. Ooh, king d5, as you can see, my fellow. Ooh, king d5, as you can see, my fellow chessers, defending the bishop on knight on a5. So king g5, king e3, and then Alireza Firouzja resigns the game, my fellow chessers. So let's continue this game. If example rook b2, my fellow chessers, rook b2, and then bishop d2, and then e1, and then bishop takes e1, and as you can see, my fellow chessers, rook and knight and bishop, my fellow chessers, and bishop on e1.